And say it out loud. Say it out loud.
Oh, we've been live. All right.
We've been live.
We've been live.
All right, we're good. All right. Yeah. Welcome back, people. Welcome to Making It in Tampa Bay, to episode something. And we got Ryan Jennings here, Jake Kurtz, Colton Daly, myself, and we're missing Jake Thomas here today. So, we're glad you joined us and hope you enjoy this and get something out of it. So,
yeah, we don't have episode numbers, by the way. We just kind of roll with it.
Yeah,
there's no numbers.
yeah, okay, good to know for next time.
Yeah.
that's right.
So today
We're learning as we go, right?
Yeah, exactly. So today we wanted to do something just a little bit more casual. Basically, just ask you guys a question. We'll kind of just go around. What's on your mind? That's all we're doing.
Yeah, that's
We're
it.
just going to say what's on your mind, and we're just going to let it flow.
Let me go last, man.
Yeah, that's fine.
Journal this out first.
That's fine.
So,
What's on your mind as of late? And it can be like something that you've just been thinking about a lot. It can be something that you're struggling with, something that you've been crushing it with lately. It can just be like, what's on your mind lately?
I think there's a couple things, but I'll go with the major one. I think, and this has been on my mind for the last couple of months, is the Enneagram. Have you guys taken the Enneagram test yet?
No.
So if you don't know what Enneagram is, Enneagram. Enneagram. It's a personality test.
What a word.
It's a personality test, and for me, I love taking personality tests. I've taken a lot of personality tests over the years. In my time in the military, we took one called 4 Lenses, which it showed like what color you are. I've taken one, I've taken Myers-Briggs. I'm an ESFJ in Myers-Briggs, but nobody knows what those letters mean.
We're super opposite.
I'm sure.
Do you find them to be all pretty fairly accurate, in line with each other?
Yeah, when you read the descriptions, I feel like they're all going to lead you to your kind of personality. But with Myers-Briggs, there's so many different letter combinations that it can be confusing. I've taken the DISC profile. That's what we do at Radiant, and so I know what I am there. But the Enneagram is a number system. It's 1 through 9, and it's probably the easiest to comprehend, and it's the most applicable that I've seen. And it's helped me understand myself more, because I'm like, oh my gosh, because it shows you who you are when you're stressed, when you're healthy, kind of the way that you move like that. And it's really impacted my marriage, understanding my wife and kind of her personality, because there's a website called Enneagram Institute where you can see your personality, this whole description, people who had the same personality type as you, common addictions for that personality type, which is crazy based on their personality. But you can see what your compatibility with another number is. And so I put my number in, which I'm a 2. If you've taken the Enneagram, I'm a 2.
How many numbers are there?
There's 9. So there's 9 personality types in there. So I'm a 2. My wife is a 7. So as a 2, it's the helper. So they love coming alongside. And in this, you find out kind of what your basic fear and your basic desire is. So a basic desire of a 2 is to feel wanted, to feel loved. The basic fear is of being unwanted. And so a 2 loves helping other people because they want to feel like they're wanted by other people. They want to feel like they're helping other people. It's a basic thing.
Interesting. Pause 1 second. I want to spell this on the whiteboard.
Yeah. So it's ENN EAGR.
Are you doing this for other people because they're not going to be able to see it?
I'm doing it for myself.
So Enneagram, and you can go online, you can type in free Enneagram test, and go, and one, it'll give you probably your top 3 is the one that I've taken before. It gives you kind of your top 3 numbers, and then you can go on Enneagram Institute, read the descriptions, and one of them will make the most sense to you.
So what about this has been on your mind?
So I think it's just interesting because not a lot of people have heard of Enneagram, but as I've studied it a ton. If you've ever listened to the Andy Stanley Leadership Podcast, their last 2 episodes have been dealing with this, like how understanding other people's personality types, how it affects everything you do, every interpersonal relationship, every working relationship.
Even sales, bro.
In sales, Understanding the basic fears and basic desires of other people, when you really understand that, and you don't put people into the same category that you are. So you and I as well are very different people. But if I tried to interact with you and meet the basic need or desire that I have in you, it's not going to mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And so the more I've studied it, and my wife and my wife's a tattoo artist. Go follow at Steph Rose Tattoos on Instagram. But every customer she has come in, she has take the test. Whenever we hang out with groups of friends, we know what all of their Enneagrams are now, because when we have people over to our house, they're all on their phones because we haven't taken the Enneagram test. But I think it's so interesting realizing just how different we all are. And that's what's been on my mind is really just how different we are.
We're going to all take it, and then I'm going to list our Enneagram result in the description of the episode.
Oh, we have to.
So here's something. I was coaching a woman with her husband the other day, and they've been married 25 years, 30 years with kids, and they're struggling. And the crazy thing is I told her, I was like, is it Gary Chapman? Who the love languages, the 5 love languages?
No, I think Gary Chapman sounds right. Yeah, the 5 love languages.
So the 5 love languages, I haven't read it. I've like the spark notes of it. I've heard sermons on it, and I understand. What are they? Real quick, the 5. You got physical touch, words of affirmation, gifts, quality time spent, and
words of affirmation. Acts of service. Did you say
acts of service? So whatever it is, and so how I kind of use an analogy to understand this for her, I was like, look, like. What you sound like, the way you're not being appreciated or he's not recognizing you, I was like, you have these love languages. And the funny thing is, she had this book in her Amazon cart.
No.
So you want to talk about like how in tune with like So she had 2 of them ordered for her, or 1, and I told her to order 2. But I was like, look, like if you guys don't know each other's love languages, that would be the equivalent to me coming to you in love, but I speak Spanish and you speak English. I was like, you're not able to receive what I could be telling you this, but you don't receive it because it's not the way in which you receive love.
Yeah.
Like that you can't. So until I learn English and you learn Spanish, we can't communicate. We can't go in sync.
Yeah.
So it's like to be in a relationship 30 years and not know each other's love languages.
It's crazy.
That's amazing. So I think that's really important that even with the personality test, being able to adapt to understand, okay, she wants words of affirmation. I have to tell her verbally, how much she means to me, or et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, my wife and I have been married 15 and a half years, and whenever we took the Enneagram test and saw our personality types and saw, how we are in a relationship and what are the things that are strengths of our combination and what are the problem spots or potential trouble spots, when we saw that, we're like, oh my gosh, this just makes so much sense. And like I said, I've known her for 17 years. We went on our first date July 4th of 2002. Wow. So 17 years I've known her. And I understand her better now after taking the Enneagram and reading her description. That I'm like, you just make sense to me now.
Wow. That's awesome.
The fact of how, like, why she's so creative, why she's so, in my mind, how she seems scattered. Interesting. But I think, it's just been on my mind because on a daily basis, especially in ministry, but in anything that we do, we interact with so many different kinds of people, and that's just what's been on my mind recently. Is just how different we all are, and really recognizing the differences and understanding, like, I need to adjust the way that I approach different people based on those differences.
It's called mirroring and matching, right? So actually going to Tony Robbins' seminar, he talks a lot about this. It's called building rapport. Because humans like humans who are like themselves.
Yeah, for sure.
And even on like the basic like physiological or psychological level, just mirroring someone's movements, like without them knowing, like if you were sitting like this, and you're not going to notice, but if I happen to do the same thing, in your mind you have no conscious idea of this, but like you're like, I like this guy, they're just like me. Whether it's matching your breathing, matching your tone of voice, you speak like this, coming back and speaking like that. It applies literally in everything, building relationships, sales,
that's true.
Relationships. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
super interesting.
So that's what's been on my mind. So we'll have to list those Enneagrams. So.
I'm gonna.
You can actually lead people. So as you start doing that, like you having a conversation, you wanted everyone to go test that at a bar. So you start mirroring them, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Watch what happens. Go to grab your drink. They go to grab their drink. You put your drink down. You kind of like scratch your leg, they'll scratch their leg. You can actually lead. It's pretty wild.
Humans are weird.
Humans are weird
in a good way.
They're just The machines, dude.
All right, so that's what's been on my mind. Kurtz, what's been on your mind?
I would say, a few things, but I would say the main one lately that's kind of been the most on my mind is trying to get to a point where like I'm doing enough and I'm disciplined in like every area of my life, which has always been super hard for me.
Good luck, brother.
I know, that's why it's been on my mind lately though, because like I feel like certain things are obviously starting to do well, other things are tanking, and obviously like the easy example I can give is like health and business.
Sure.
And it's like business is going well, health is tanking. And then it's like health starts to do well, and then business, I'm not giving as much focus anymore.
Yeah.
And it's like, how do I find the balance of all those different things?
Yeah.
And then it's like, all right, health's going well, business is going well, relationship with Kelly's going well, and then all of a sudden it's like something else falls through. It's like my relationship with God falls through.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like relationship with God's back to where it was supposed to be. And then Kelly's good and business is good, and then health goes down. And it's like,
I had
you know what I mean?
I had a client today do the wheel of life, where it has like every area 1 through 10: personal development, relationships, intimate and social, health, and you go and you write each one of those areas 1 through 10. But it just sounds like you value balance, and I think it's so important, as we were talking yesterday, of like knowing what your values are, and that when you don't honor those values, then you begin to feel the anxiety or the guilt or the shame or the depression. All these areas come in because you're not honoring something that's so deeply rooted into you.
Yeah.
And obviously, yours have so changed within the last year of what you're beginning to value. So having to go and reevaluate, okay, what are my value systems, and being able to find that balance, because you can't be a 10 in health sometimes, you're going to slack somewhere else. So kind of having that 8 across the board or something like that.
Yeah, because I heard it said one time when we went through like a crazy time in our lives, my wife started getting these weird like allergies that she had never had in her life. And we went and we were talking to this counselor, and he said, we're made with kind of 3 different parts to us, with a physical, a spiritual, and emotional side. And when any one of those things gets out of balance, it throws the other one out of balance too. So when we were going through this difficult time in our life a few years ago, and the emotional side of my wife was just out of balance, it started throwing the other things out of balance too, and it affected her physically and stuff like that. So it is one of those things that, like you said, when you're so focused on one thing, you can see it affecting the other areas of your life too.
It's crazy.
But I think we just heard a sermon this past week about this. Like, what's the key to getting back to imbalance? Focus. Yeah, because and understand what we focus on is going to determine kind of that outcome. So if you're focusing solely on business and that's like your main focus, then what else is going to suffer? Is that getting you to where you want to be?
Exactly. And like you said, Colton, it's about figuring out what your values are. Because if you don't know what they are, and you've never actually taken the time to even write them down and really put them on paper so that they're not just thoughts that are swirling around in your head, I feel like you're going to have an issue with reaching those because you don't even know what they are.
Well, and it's funny because I even today, as I was coaching, I used your shirt that you wore yesterday as a reference, because your shirt says "Fix systems, not symptoms."
Yeah.
Right. And because you've gone through this major transition period this last year, your value system has changed, but you have the same systems in place from where your value systems were where they were before.
True.
So until we go back and kind of reevaluate our systems and our focus and say, these are my values now, I need to hit these, or I'm not going to feel the way I want to feel.
Yep.
Yeah, you're right. Because it's true. Because the symptoms right now are the physical, is I'm not working out as much because I'm so focused. I'm so focused on business, and relationship is okay, but maybe not. So I think it's a matter of those are symptoms, but what's the system that how do you need to adjust your system, your schedule, your whatever to meet that time with God, all those kind of things.
I think the main one has been health, because relationship is good, everything's in a good place. Relationship with God is getting better over time, and I've talked to you guys about how I can get better at it, but business is obviously going well, but health has just been the one that's kind of been sometimes I'll eat healthy for a couple days, and then all of a sudden I'm eating terribly again, and then I'll work out hard for a couple days, and then all of a sudden it's I don't go back for 3 weeks, and it's just
I think it's interesting though, for us, we so many times we do low-hanging fruit. You see the easiest symptom to fix, and so it's all right, I can go and I'll start eating healthy, right? That's like the low hanging fruit. Like I know I should eat healthy,
Yeah.
but you're not actually fixing the symptom of like why did I start eating unhealthy in the first place? Because you haven't fixed anything. You're fixing just a symptom. Like what was the easiest thing that I could change right now, but that's not fixing the overall. Like what's the root kind of issue? And, but for us, we want to take the path of least resistance. We want to take the easiest route to fix things, and so we like you said, we fix basic symptoms of things that we're going through. But and I mean I do it in my life too. So
I don't know if I said this because this is a quote that literally came to me. I was journaling and I was writing. I think it's kind of one of those godly things that was kind of spoken to me. But it really goes back to the value system. And what was said is, what in my life is causing pain but is disguised as pleasure? I don't know if I went over that in a podcast, but as I was writing that, I thought that, like, what in my life is causing pain but is disguised as pleasure, right? So for you, and this is an example I use as I try to explain it as an analogy or metaphor, and I'll use my example too. When you start to value health, whether it's living a healthy life or longevity, right? So it's like, okay, these are my internal core values of what I value, but right, you take that moment and you eat that unhealthy meal, which at the moment it is disguised as pleasure.
Right.
I mean, it's not even disguised. It is pleasure. It's pleasurable at that time, but it's like drinking salt water because immediately after you're going to be 10 times thirstier because your value system. One, you're going to feel like crap, and then you're going to look back at something you just did that conflicts with your value system.
Exactly.
So it's actually causing pain.
Yep.
In the long run, it's causing pain, but temporarily, it's causing pleasure. So for me, it was the same concept with video games, and I was like addicted to video games, doing hours a night or whatever. It's like, okay, this brings me pleasure, but then I get off and be like, dude, you're a piece of crap. You only want to play for 30 minutes, you play 5 hours. You know, you value personal development, you value sleep, you value being a leader, but then you're this thing that was causing pleasure is causing pain.
Yeah, and I have these conversations with myself, and I mean, call it weird, call it whatever it is, but it's like, I'm literally like, all right, well, brick media is going well, but like, who cares? Because I'm gonna die young. Like, it's as dumb as that sounds, and obviously, I'm one of those people that WebMDs everything, and I'm like, you know, chest pain.
That's the worst thing to do. Oh God, I have a headache. You have cancer.
No, for real, yeah.
Like right off the bat.
I had twitching above my temple
You're gonna
the other day, and it was saying something about like I'm gonna get infections in my arteries.
Glaucoma.
My brain's gonna.
Aneurysm or something. Yeah.
No,
So, I'm one of those people though that like
every symptom leads to AIDS on WebMD and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. But
That's funny.
regardless of me being one of those people though, like the fact is, like if I'm not healthy, I'm not gonna have as good of a quality of life. And it's like, what's the point of doing all this stuff if health is gonna slip?
Yeah.
It's not gonna be as fun if I don't feel good.
It comes with everything, man. Of course, sitting in your bed watching Netflix is much more pleasurable than going to the gym. But you value seeing your grandkids, you value a long life, and being healthy, and being able to walk with your older self. It really is like being kind to that future self as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Colton.
Yeah.
What's on your mind?
Oh man, a million things. All the loose squirrels have been let out this last month. But just going through a major transition period in my life, just the typical ups and downs. You know, I think coming on the beginning of the year, I went on a major high. It was going back and evaluating my systems, giving up the video games, giving up doing fasts, and really evaluating what are the things in my life that are serving me and what are the things in my life that are really holding me back from my dreams, aspirations, goals, and where I want to be. And as I took that route, my life skyrocketed. It really did. Within a 45-day period, the opportunities, the things that were happening in my life, the groups that were getting created, amazing. But again, I started to slip, and the symptoms began to come back, but I began to do and fall into all the things I was doing before to where my life was mediocre and not bringing that joy. So I think ultimately, one, as you were saying earlier, my spiritual life kind of fell apart. I began to kind of walk in the flesh again, do things that weren't bringing honor to God, which for me is my highest value system. Is you know, being righteous before God and walking as a godly man and trying to be a leader in that. So as I began to walk away from that, it really, as I explain it, it's being disconnected from the source. It's like I was not plugged in anymore, and I was trying to do and find all these pleasures and things that are ungodly, which are just, again, drinking salt water, doing everything I can to grasp some type of feeling of joy, but it was all fake, and it led me to the ground. I got to a point where I realized after a month, I took a bath. And it was the first time I actually relaxed and like had a peace of mind. And I almost wanted to literally I almost wanted to cry because it was like I haven't checked in with myself. I haven't felt my body. I haven't asked myself how I've been doing. I haven't had a peace of mind in like 30, 40 days. So it was just pure anxiety, pure running of the mind, pure living off cortisol and stress. And So that's what I realized, man. There's nothing more important than peace.
Yeah.
Like you can have everything going for you, and I realized at that moment, man, you've been like spiritually dead. So it's been going back to that process of getting myself back right spiritually, but in every area of my life. Going from chaos back into order and getting that balance and finding my relationship. And then most importantly, as I've been reading this week, as I was discussing with you guys, is that being able to detach from the egoic mind as well and not identifying with your thoughts. And as I was saying, there was so much stress and anxiety that my mind was going a million miles per hour, which was dropping my self-esteem, my confidence, my joy, my love, everything, no peace. And it's because I began to identify back with the mind, the thinking mind, and mind dominance, right? My mind was taking control over me, the being, the I am.
Yeah.
So
tell the audience about what you said yesterday about like the whole I am and like who you are versus
I think that's what's so amazing. I think as you go into this process of waking up and really doing this enlightening process of realizing, one, you are not your thoughts, right? You are the observer to your thoughts. And right then and there, if you just grasp that one single concept, like you are the listener to your thoughts and you are not your thoughts, I mean, that is the enlightenment, like basic. People will commit suicide because they identify with their thoughts as telling them they're a piece of crap, they're nothing, you should just commit suicide. And they're thinking they are these thoughts, but it's not. We're the listener that's just end up listening more and feeding this thing to keep talking to us. So being able to detach that one moment in the bathtub, or when I did breath work the other day, to separate myself from that and to sit in my room and actually hear the birds outside, even at nighttime, and to just hear an inner stillness and peace. There was nothing like that. I felt the true joy. But I've done journaling, and it's funny when you start to journal and you're like, okay, we can do this, Colton. And I start to circle the word we, like who's we?
Yeah.
Right? Or I write like, listen, I know you can do this. Well, who's the I and who's the you? Mm-hmm. Right? So it's like we start to learn that there's multiple versions of ourselves that we're living with. And it's this egoic mind, but then there's the being itself. Right? And it's funny in the scriptures in I don't know, is it Exodus, when Moses is talking to the burning bush.
Yeah, Exodus 3.
And he has to go to Pharaoh, and he's like, well, who am I going to tell him is sending me to the Pharaoh, like the strongest, king of the time? Mm-hmm. And God says, tell him I am that I am.
Yeah.
Right? It's just the I am. Like, we have the I am inside of us, and then you have that thinking mind. So for me now, coming February, March, January, and when I was on a high, it was because I separated from that egoic mind and no longer let that control me, that mind dominance. And now I'm at a point where I went back living my own way, living in flesh, and it was like that took over, began to identify with that as well. So, it's a journey of just how do I find peace? And, what I'm doing so far, I've learned that breath work is absolutely incredible. The meditation, the prayer, getting your life in order. And
yeah, the overall concept for the people listening is like just check yourself every once in a while.
Yeah.
Like stop, pause, and just kind of check yourself.
And
in touch with your own thoughts and just kind of reset.
Yeah, I think we said before, the last month or so, I've traveled the world, and I think one of the things that I always notice when I travel overseas is that really Americans are one of the only cultures in the world that value rushing anything.
Yeah.
So which is frustrating when you go overseas as an American, because you go to a restaurant and you go somewhere and they're not going to rush for anything. We always call it, we call it like Sri Lankan time. So when they say, oh, it's only going to take 2 hours to go do this, it's like, you better go ahead and add another 30, 45 minutes on that. So, but, as Americans, we're kind of almost ingrained in running this fast pace.
Yes.
And so it's like Pastor Aaron, who's the pastor of our church that we go to, he told our staff one time when we got to a busy kind of time, which is Easter, which is like the Super Bowl for us. He said, cars are made to run in the red. You can run a car in the red for a certain amount of time, but if you stay in the red, you're going to burn out. He said, so in our lives, we're built to be able to work really hard and go really hard and do all this stuff, but we can't stay there.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing is you have to know when's that time to kind of throttle back, to be able to do that self check-in and stuff like that. Because I know for me, earlier this year, I went to a point where I was in that season of I got to do all this stuff. We got all this stuff going on, but I didn't do a good job. Same thing of throttling back. Mm-hmm. I got in such a mode of go, be productive, do all these things, to where I started to I became more irritable to be around. I was getting frustrated by other people when I don't normally do that. And so I finally was why am I doing this? Why am I talking this way to people? Why am I so frustrated and stuff like that? And it's one of those things that I didn't really do that self check.
Yeah,
Be like,
dude, I went full blown depression, and so I think it's one Eckhart Tolle. I want to make this recommendation. Eckhart Tolle, he has a book called The Power of Now. Highly recommend it. It will change your life. But he called it the human condition, especially in Western cultures. We are addicted to thinking, where other cultures really aren't. And the problem is with the American culture is that we are so addicted to thinking, but we're always thinking about the future or the past. Like we do not know how to live in the present moment anymore. That's what Buddha means, like the awakened one, right? He's just they're so present, and all they know that all they have is this moment. Because the future doesn't exist. The past no longer exists. That doesn't exist. The only thing that exists right now is right now, this moment. But we're so focused on sacrificing this moment for what's to come, why we're always in a rush. Like I'm so focused on getting that table and sitting down, so focused on whatever it is, that we sacrifice this present moment, and they're really the beauty of right here, right now, which is the being, right? That is the being part I was telling you earlier. When you get to that state of meditation, this is okay. Like right now is okay. It's not a means to an end. We can just appreciate this moment rather than throwing this away for something that doesn't even exist.
Yep. There's literally people that rush through traffic to go home and like lay on the couch. And
Yeah.
watch TV. It's like, what are you rushing for?
Yeah,
The couch isn't moving. It's gonna be there.
it's true.
Well, anyways, I gotta get wrapped up. I gotta meet at 5. I know y'all gotta get
That's
going. So I know this could just turn into a conversation. We can probably do another podcast about how to find peace and, really being able to detach from this mind. And
Yeah,
find
we'll
some
probably
peace.
do this every once in a while just because it'll be good to check in on everybody
Yeah.
that's a part of this podcast and just see like at that point in time what's on their mind and then just kind of let it go from there.
And
You
we'll
guys
all
can
do
go
this.
with us.
Crazy word, whatever.
Enneagram.
And we'll come back and talk about that. So,
Yeah.
anyways, thanks for y'all. Thank you for joining us. Please rate us online, give us a good review, write a comment. It really helps us out. And thanks for joining Making Us in Tampa. I hope you get something from this and enjoy it. And we look forward to seeing you next week.
See ya.
And say it out loud.